He jammed it onto his head, then ran outside. "Hey, where are you going?" the goblin in the witch costume shouted. The stripy-faced goblin stuck out of his tongue. "I'm going to have some fun on the rides," he shouted back. "After him," said Kirsty. The three friends flew after the stripy-faced goblin as he ran towards the teacup ride. "I want to have fun too," said the witch goblin. He ran towards the ride as well. The goblins jumped into a teacup and the ride started up. "I've got an idea," said Rachel. "Kyle, can you turn us back to the human size? Then make the ride spin really fast?" "Of course," said the little fairy. Her eyes twinkled. The goblins were enjoying themselves as their teacup began to turn. "Whee!" they shouted, and waved their arms. Kyle pointed her wand and went sparkling fairy dust rushing towards the ride. The teacup began to spin faster and faster. "I feel sick," one of the goblins groaned. "Somebody switch this thing off." The goblin turned even greener than usual. The ride spun even faster. The goblin wearing a band leader's hat put up the hand to hold it firmly on his head, but he was too late. The hat flew off and tumbled through the air. "My hat!" he shrieked. Rachel hurried over and picked it up. Kyle waved her wand again. The teacup stopped spinning. The goblins climbed out. They had to lie down because they were too dizzy to walk. "Quickly," Kyle said to Kirsty and Rachel. "If we hurry, we can get the hat back to the band leader in time for the afternoon show." The girls rushed into the tent next to the stage and peeped inside. It was full of magicians. "How can we give the hat to the band leader without being seen?" Kirsty asked. Let go of the hat and I'll use the magic to put the band leader's desk," Kyle said. Rachel let go of the hat. Kyle shrank it to fairy size with a flick of her wand. Then she sent it whizzing over to the desk. The hat landed next to the band leader's puff of fairy magic. It grew back to the normal size. When the band leader came over to collect his baton, he couldn't believe his eyes. "My hat!" he cried. "Where on the earth could it have been?" "Never mind now," said the carnival master. "It's time for the afternoon show. The band had a break, so maybe they could able to play better this time." The band leader nodded. Kirsty and Rachel shared a smile. The band certainly were going to play better, and they knew exactly why. The band leader proudly placed the hat on his head. "We'll make this our best performance ever," he said. The musicians started playing a lovely tune. They marched smartly out of the tent. Soon everyone was watching them and cheering. "Phew! Everything is back to normal," Rachel said. "Not quite," Kyle said. "Don't forget that those naughty goblins have still got the carnival crown." Don't worry, Kyle, Kirsty said. We'll do our best to find the crown. Rachel and Kirsty stood back to wait and watched the band parade all the way around the carnival grounds. Thank you again for your help, Kyle smiled gratefully. Now go and enjoy yourselves. I'll return to Fairyland and tell everyone the news. See you tomorrow, Kirsty smiled and waved. The two girls ran off to the roller coaster. It was time for them to have some well-earned fun. Story 3, The Carnival Crown. It was the last evening on Sunnyday's carnival. Everyone was wearing fancy dress. Rachel and Kirsty were wearing black cat costumes. Kirsty's parents were dressed as colorful clowns. There's a hook a duck game, cried Rachel. She pointed to a stall where some plastic ducks were bobbing around in the top of the water. Can we have to go? Kirsty asked her mom. Of course, said Mrs. Tate. We'll meet you at the fireworks display later. Rachel picked up a fishing rod and tried to hook a duck. She did it. She heard a tiny voice say, Hello, Rachel. The girls peered down at the duck Rachel has hooked. Kyle was sitting on its back. I'm glad to see you, said the fairy, but I have some bad news. Jack Frost doesn't think the goblins have been causing enough mischief on their own, so he come to help them. Have you seen any goblins yet, Kyle? Rachel asked. Kyle didn't reply. Instead, she pointed at the three boys in Jester's costumes. They were running towards the Tunnel of Love ride. They all had green faces. They're goblins, said Kirsty. Let's follow them. The girls hurried into the ride. The goblins were sitting in a carriage at front of the train. Rachel and Kirsty sat near the back and hoped the goblins wouldn't see them. The train set off into the tunnel. It drove past lots of pretty painted scenes, and then it slowed down beside the plastic tree. The goblins got off. Kirsty, Rachel, and Kyle jumped out of their carriage too. They hid behind the tree and listened. Hurry up, you idiots, shouted a grumpy voice. The girls peeped around the tree and saw Jack Frost sitting on a throne of ice. He's wearing the carnival crown, whispered Kirsty. Jack Frost glared at his goblins. You're having too much fun, he said. You should be spoiling the carnival for the humans and stop enjoying yourselves and get on with your jobs. Let's sneak into the throne and grab the crown, Rachel said. The girls and Kyle began to creep up behind Jack Frost. The goblins were talking about the naughty things they were going to do. I'll steal all the toffee apples and eat them, said one goblin. I'll scare the children with spooky noises, said another. That's a good idea, Jack Frost said. Now go and do it. The goblins went to obey him. Rachel saw the crown poking over the back of the icy throne. She tried to grab it, but Jack Frost stood up quickly and turned around. "You can't fool me," he sneered. "I knew you were there all the time." Please give us back the carnival crown," said Kyle, but Jack Frost just laughed and jumped into the train. He waved as it drove off. The girls rushed outside to look for him. "He must have passed by the log falls," said Kirsty. "Look, the water is all frozen." Rachel spotted Jack Frost getting onto the big wheel. "He can't freeze the big wheel, can he?" asked Kirsty. "He might try," Kirsty said. "We have to stop him." Kirsty and Rachel jumped into the seat behind Jack Frost. "If only we could get to the crown," said Kirsty, "but we can't reach it from here." "I've got an idea," said Rachel. "Kyle, can you magic us up a fishing rod with a hook on the end? We can hook up the crown, just like a hook a duck game," Kirsty said. Kyle fluttered into the air and waved her wand. There was a burst of sparkles, and shining gold fishing rod appeared in Rachel's hands. "Perfect," she said. The girls waited until their seats went over the top of the big wheel. Now Jack Frost was below them. Rachel held out the fishing rod.